Right boys, welcome to the 9th video on my channel. So we've already ranked League 2 stadiums for the 25-6 season, but now we're going to look at the bigger picture and rank the fans and atmosphere. So if you are a League 2 fan, I'm going to be ranking your fan bases by just how good they are in general, how good you are at home, how good you are away, how loud you are, and just taking everything into account. And much like my stadium rankings, I am expecting the abuse. But before you start throwing stuff at your TV, phone, laptop, iPad, I don't know why I need to remind people, but this is only my opinion. But yeah, at number 24, I regret to say it, but it could be no one other than Salford City. Despite a big money and class of 92 ownership, they've failed to grow a real fan base. They've got the lowest core supporter numbers in the league, poor home and away turnout relative to expectations. There's a small group of loyal fans, but little wider interest. Like, is there any wonder I've put them 24th? Like, seriously. At number 23, we've got Harrogate. Now, much like Salford, they've had a rapid rise from non-league, and you could say the growth of the fan base hasn't quite aligned with how quick the club's progressed. And you've also got to take into account it's a small town, very small stadium as well, so you've got to take into account, even if there was an atmosphere, like, would it still be that intimidating for an opposing player? At number 22, I've got Fleetwood. Again, a club with a massive rise through the pyramid as of late, but the fan base hasn't really kept pace. Attendances are very much non-league standard. So far, 4 games in this season, they've got an average home attendance of 2,903, which is actually lower than Torquay United's average attendance, who are in the National League South. Nothing more needs to be said. At number 21, we've got Bromley. Their fans are decently loud, to be fair to them, considering how new they are to League One and how small the stadium is, but there's just not enough of them. That's understandable. Lack of experience in the league means lower away numbers, but with that being said, there's definitely a strong community initiative there, and it should boost the fan growth in the long term. At number 20, we've got Accrington Stanley. The historical dig has turned to a proud motto for Accrington Stanley fans, and they pride off that small but passionate fan base. And they have got a few die-hard fans who can make the atmosphere somewhat decent, and they can turn up to away games in their low numbers, no doubt, create a bit of noise. But they have also got the worst home attendance in the league this season, so you stay in there. At number 19, we've got Crawley. Could have been lower, to be honest. Third lowest attendance in the league this season. Very small fan base with very little spirit at home games, to be honest. And just a very bad average away following. Now, to cap off the bottom quarter of the worst fans in the league this season, we've got Barrow. Now, Barrow's average home attendance this season is exactly 50% of their capacity, which obviously isn't good, but at the same time, it's not crap. But maybe it is when you consider how small the ground is. In fairness to Barrow fans, people say that Holker Street's atmosphere has improved in recent years, but they've also been promoted to the Football League in recent years, so are their fans just glory supporters? But I do say that lightly, because unless you're one of the top 10 biggest clubs in the UK, like say you're a Leeds United, etc., if your club is diminishing, you are going to see a downturn in the amount of fans turn up to games. But yeah, we'll just see from 18. At number 17, we've got Newport. How dare I do that, considering how far Newport is from other teams? Plymouth fans are a strong example as to why I'm not taking that into account. People also say Newport are the 3rd biggest club in Wales, albeit there's not much competition. But still, come on, they've averaged 5,000 home fans at home this season. But of course, you've got to commend their fans. The club were essentially bankrupt, and the fans basically led a rebirth, and they've been key to the club's survival. So am I being too harsh here? At number 16, we've got the Cheltenham fans. Small town club with a steady but decent support. Home atmosphere is pretty good when it's full, but rarely is. The away support isn't great either, but you could argue that it's slightly isolated geographically, which might affect numbers. And while I have claimed that isn't an excuse, Cheltenham aren't or do not claim to be a big club by any means. At number 15, we've got Barnet. Now, Barnet fans are a small but loyal fan base, and often overshadowed in London. They've never had massive numbers regardless of where they've been in the football pyramid, but the support has remained solid given the club's size and the fluctuations between the National League and the EFL. Definitely not the loudest of fans overall, but certainly not the quietest. And number 14, now a lot of people are not going to be happy with this one, MK Don. This season, MK Dons have filled 26.5% of their stadium on average, which is the lowest in League 2. But they've also got the 2nd highest average attendance so far this season, with an average of 8,078 home fans. Well, that's only because they're doing well. No, the lowest attendance they've had in the past 5 years was in the 23-4 season, with an average of 6,588 home fans, which is a lot more than the previous clubs I've just mentioned. Yeah, there's no doubt that their away support isn't the best, but their home crowd is decent. Like, it just looks crap because they've got a massive stadium which is way too big for their club. Like, listen, MK Dons fans aren't the best, but they're not as bad as people make out. At number 13, we've got Colchester United. I'd say a fairly mixed support, quiet home crowds, but a fairly loyal core base. I do feel like they made Layer Road more of an atmospheric stadium than they do with the Jobserve. Their away following isn't too bad at all, though. It isn't huge, but it's consistent and they're pretty loud indeed. On number 12, we've got Crewe. They always seem to come across as long-standing supporters for strong identity and pride. They're definitely not known for huge away followings, but they're still fairly solid at home. And when you consider how small of a club Crewe pretty much are, that the crowds are respectable. But in the grand scheme of things, still not great. At number 11, we've got Walsall. I like Walsall fans, and I like them as a club. They've got decent local backing, and it's a club of real heritage. They've got the 4th highest average attendance in League 2 this season. And even after stagnation for many, many years, fan frustrations have been high, but the passion's still been there. And I'm seriously contemplating about putting Walsall higher. Now we're talking. Moving on to the top 10 best fan bases in League 2 this season, in my opinion. And at number 10, we've got Shrewsbury? Hear me out. They've got consistent home support and dedicated travelling fans. And there's a very strong football culture for a town of its size. They've been regulars in League One for quite a few years now until recent relegation, and the fans have still stuck by them. Moving on swiftly. At number 9, we've got Cambridge United. Another stable fan base, not the largest, but dedicated and engaged. Cambridge have averaged 6,205 fans so far this season, which isn't too bad considering the capacity is 8,000 and they were relegated from League One last season. And their away turnouts are surprisingly good considering they don't get the most amount of fans at home. They're not the loudest of fans at home, no doubt, but they still seem to make the Abbey Stadium an intimidating place to go for players. At number 8, we've got Gillingham. Now, Gillingham have done barely anything in the past few years, but they've still managed to keep a decent following at home games. They've averaged about 6,000 at home in the past few years, which obviously isn't amazing, but it's decent for League Two. They're part of a one-club county. It's Kent's most prominent team, so there's a decent fan base there, no doubt. The fans have stuck through many years of underinvestment and stagnant football, and their away support always seems to be fairly decent considering travel times are they're not the closest. At number 7, we've got Chesterfield. Now, a lot of people are going to be annoyed that I haven't put this higher. Now, so far this season, Chesterfield have filled on average 77.3% of their stadium, which is actually the highest in the league. And even during their brief stint in the National League, the fans stayed loyal, and their away following is very good. But I still think they're slightly overrated. At number 6, we've got Notts County. Massive club historically, the oldest professional football club in the world. They're going to have a massive fan base. They've always seemed to have big crowds at home, very good atmospheres, but there's always been a gap in the Notts County fan base. I feel like the fan trust is still building after years of mismanagement, but nonetheless, they've always had decent home attendances, they've always had a good away following, but maybe not this season. They've only averaged 42% of their stadium being full. At number 5, and in front of Notts County, we've got Oldham, and I firmly put them in front of Notts County. It's a proper traditional northern club with proper traditional northern fans, many of whom have seen them play in the Premier League, but I've also seen them go through financial ruin and back, but still never walked away. Boundary Park has always seemed to keep an amazing atmosphere, and when Oldham were down in the doldrums, large fan protests and organised groups show a deep-rooted passion for the fans, and the fans are just a key factor as to why the club is just so big. At number 4, we've got Tranmere. Very loyal Merseyside-based fan base, often overshadowed by Everton and Liverpool, but fiercely independent, and they are known for regularly taking solid away followings. They've got the 3rd highest average home attendance this season, and to be fair, Prenton Park has hosted consistently good attendances even in non-league, and I just feel like the fans are passionate about keeping the club at the heart of the world. And moving on to the top 3 best fan bases in League Two this season, in my opinion. At number 3, we've got Swindon. Now, historically, Swindon have always had a strong support, and it's often among the best in League Two. They've got an average attendance of 8,862 this season, and that's without the fans really expecting them to go anywhere. I think it's inevitable. Long periods of EFL football have built a solid core base. The town end, especially at the county ground, creates a proper atmosphere, and everywhere they go, they seem to bring a solid number of away fans. Now, moving on to top 1 and 2 fan bases in League Two this season, and for me, these are comfortably up there. I think in terms of the top 5 fan bases, these 2 fan bases are far ahead of the other 3. But that isn't to say there isn't a big jump between the top 5 fan bases and the 5 fan bases below there. But at number 2, I've gone for Bristol Rovers fans. They are a massive sleeping giant, consistently draw big crowds and have a large regional following. They travel in huge numbers for away days considering how far it is from other teams. And they're literally one of the loudest and most passionate fan bases in the EFL when they're up for it. And they are part of what makes them and Bristol City one of the best derbies in the country because the fan culture is just burning strong. Now, even though they were relegated from League One last season, they've still averaged 9,245 attendances at home this season just from their fans, which is better than most League One clubs. And at number 1, that means we've got the Grimsby Town fan base. Nobody wants to go to Grimsby Town away. The fans make it intimidating. The atmosphere is just horrible for an opposing player and opposing fans. And regardless of where Town have been in the football pyramid, they've always seemed to have a strong tight-knit community from a proud working class town. Blundell Park is an old school type stadium, and their fans add into that old school atmosphere one of the loudest stands in the lower league football, the Pontoon. They're also known for exceptional away support as well, often outpacing League One sides, and they've just got that feel about them, haven't they? But anyway, boys, I'm going to wrap the video up there. I do hope you somewhat enjoyed. Please comment down below how you'd rearrange these rankings, and if you are a League Two fan, try and avoid any bias. But yeah, see you in the next one.